Is the screen visible, students? Students, kindly answer. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, welcome back. So, after 3 to 4 days of gap, we are meeting again for this DCM class. So, in the last class, we have discussed about the physical their functionalities and the problem associated with performance like throughput, delay. So we have discussed on those things and also about the transmission time, propagation time. So those things we have discussed. So, and also we started discussing about the switching. So what is the circuit switching and what is the packet switching? What are the two categories of the packet switching? In that we have virtual circuit approach and the datagram approach. So we have completed a datagram approach and we are in the starting of virtual circuit approach. Okay, so we'll go to the slide straight away. So this is the classification of the packet switched approach. So in the packet switched approach, we have the two classification. One is the virtual circuit, other one is the datagram approach. So we already discussed about datagram approach. So in that you will be having the entire data that is available into smaller size packets and it will be transmitted to the available path. Okay, so you don't have any fixed path. So instead, the packets may take the any route between the switches that are available and it can able to reach the destination and there is no guarantee that all the packet will reach in the same manner as it was transmitted. So after receiving all the packets, you should use the suitable routing protocol such that you may able to convert the out of order packet into the in order packets. Okay, the suitable protocol should be available at the receiving end. So this is what you are discussed in the datagram approach. Then we are discussing about the efficiency and total delay involved in the datagram approach. So you will be having the waiting times at the individual switches available and we will be discussing about the virtual circuit now. So it is a cross. It is also we have discussed already. It is a it is the combination of the circuit switch and the datagram approach. Okay, so that is why it is cross. Okay, so it is having a combined features of both circuit switch and the datagram approach. So here also we in the case of datagram approach there is no different phases available. So as you discussed in the circuit switching, we have three phases available. What are they? Do you remember? What are the three phases available? Do you remember, students? Can you name the three phases? Kindly unmute and answer. What are the three phases? Harish, do you remember? Yes, Harish. Harish, I hope you are there. Disha, do you remember, ma'am? What are the three phases available? Anyone can answer. Brinda? Brinda, are you
Sir,
there? Yes,
sir,
Disha. Go ahead.
connection setup, then data transfer and connection tear down, sir.
Yes, exactly. So you have three phases. One is that we need to find the path. Okay, that is the connection setup. Once the path has been established, you need to go for a data transfer. That is the second one. Once the data transfer is complete, you need to terminate. Why you should terminate? If you forgot to terminate, what will happen? Brinda, once the data transfer is over, you need to terminate. That is said to be a tear down phase. Tear down phase. If you forgot to disconnect or if you forgot to go with the tear down phase, what will happen? Brinda, Astika, Durga Devi, Durga Devi, Gayatri. Gayatri, are you there? Durga Devi. Except Disa, then one more girl. I don't know her name. No one is answering from the girl side. Huh? Kribaharan, Kribaharani, Malavika, Manimonisha. Malavika, are you there? Malavika, Manimonisha. Anyone can answer. Pranati? Pranati, are you there? It seems none of the girls are available in the class. Huh? Shall I mark absent for those girls who are not responding? Okay. Okay, so when you don't have, when you forget to tear down what will happen, normally you will be allocating a dedicated bandwidth when you go for virtual circuit approach or circuit switching. So whenever you have a dedicated bandwidth, if you are not ending up the connection, all the allocated bandwidth will be available as it is. Other users may not be able to share or use those things. That's why you should go with a dedicated, that is a tear down phase. Okay, so it is a third phase that is available. So this is the virtual circuit. Will be having a switches between. So you can able to transfer your data between those switches to end the destination. So this is what already we discussed the addressing. You have two type of addressing. One is the global addressing. The other one is the local addressing. So global addressing is known as you know that when you are declaring any variables in C, one will be declared globally, other one will be declared locally. So if you want to declare globally, it can be used anywhere within the loops or sub loops. Okay, whereas in the case of a local, it has to be declared within the main function. Okay. So those things that you will be knowing. So the global address is the address that is known, which is, even though it is known, it has its scope. Okay, so that is what we have discussed in the last class about the global address and the virtual circuit identifier. So identifier is the one in which you are going to transfer your data. It has to be identified. So from which it has to that is whenever you transmit any frame or any packet, it has to be identified by its unique address or the identifier. So that is what I given in the addressing. Okay. Normally, you can see each data packet will be associated with its virtual circuit identifier. Okay. So the identifier used for the data transfer for each and every. Normally, we used to say that data transfer. In that case, we least bother about the identifier. So whenever you pinpointing that particular address or the virtual circuit, you have to specify the identifier that is associated with the data. Okay, so here you can see the switch is you have to as I told we have to represent the switch with the terms of ports and the router in terms of interfaces. Okay, the switch has two ports here. One is the input port that is available here, and other one is the output port which is available here. So to the input port, whenever the data is entering in any form, either it may be in a packet or it may be in form of a frame, so it has to be associated with a virtual circuit identifier. Normally, only in the data link layer you will be having the frames. When it comes to the upper layer, you will be having the, so there you don't, there you will be having a different terminology to identify the packets. Okay. So you have virtual circuit identifier which is said to be a 14, which is associated with the data. So when it comes into the switch will process the packet, then it will get into the output port. So when it moving from the output port, the virtual circuit identifier will be 77. So it has to be converted. So this switch will maintain a table. Whenever it is entering, what is the identifier that is available? Whenever it is leaving, what is the identifier it's available? So it can able to map, okay, the incoming and the outgoing port. Okay, so in the virtual circuit approach, we have the three phases. As I told, it is similar to that of the circuit switching, and you have the combination of the packet switching concept. So here you will be having the setup phase, data transfer, and you will be having the tear down phase. As you know, in a setup phase, the source and destination uses a global address to help the switches to make the entries for the correction. Then in teardown phase, the source and destination inform the switches to delete the corresponding entry. So once that data is completed after transferring, okay, you need to terminate. So the switch maintains the table. It has to be deleted. Okay, entry has to be deleted. That's why in teardown phase, you have to insist the switch to delete the data. So the data transfer occurs between these two phases. So between the teardown phase and the setup phase, you will be having the data transfer. So this is also we stopped in this slide in the last class. So you can see. So this is the table that will be maintained by the switch. Okay, so it will be having the 4 columns. One with respect to incoming, you have 2 subcolumns. Other one is with respect to outgoing. You will be having 2 subcolumns. One will be associated with the port. Other one will be associated with the virtual circuit identifier. So you can see here it has 3 ports available. Port 1, 2 and port 3. So we may use all the 3 or we may use any 2 ports. Among this, one will be the input port and the other 2 will be the output ports. Here you can see for each entry at the input port. For example, this packet or the frame which is entering to the port 1, which is having a identifier, virtual circuit identifier as a 14, and another one is a 77. After entering into the switch, it may take a different VCI when it is leaving from the switch. You can see it is 122 and other one is the 41. As I told, it is not mandatory that all should follow the same path. Here we can have a port 3 as the one output part, other one is the port 2 which is having another path. So that is what given in the description here. So now we will be discussing in detail. So source to destination data transfer via virtual circuit approach. Okay. So in the previous case, we have just taken a switch alone. So in that, how the entry is entered. Okay, for the incoming and outgoing frames. Okay. Here you can see that A is your source and B is your destination. Between these two entities, you have 3 switches available. Okay. So you can able to see there is no connectivity between the switch 1 and 2, whereas you have the connectivity here. Okay, so that you may able to have the switch 1. You can consider this is switch 1 and this is the switch 2 and this is the switch 3. There is no connectivity between 1 and 3. You have connectivity between 1, 2 and 3. So each switches you will be having a multiple port. Now we are not using all the ports. You will be make use of the port 1 and the port 3. So whenever the packet or the frame entering into the port 1, you will be having an entry with the corresponding VCI. So through port it is leaving. The rest of the ports remains empty. So at the port 3, that is the outgoing port, you will be having entry of 66. The virtual circuit identifier at the input entry will be converted into 66 at the output. Now again this switch 2 will maintain the same table, for which you will be having the same input as the entry 1 and the 2 is the output port. So you will be having 66 which is converted into 22 in the output entry. Again the switch 3 will have the same 2 ports. One is the input port, one is the output port. In the input port you have the entry as 22 and output port will have entry as 77. So the same data will be traveled through the via ports and it reaches the destination with the different VCIs. Okay, so this is how the normally communication take place by using the virtual circuit approach from the source to destination. So the data transfer phase is active until the source ends all its frame to destination. Until it ends the data to the destination, the data transfer phase will be in active mode. The switch creates an entry for a virtual circuit. Okay, that is said to be whenever you have an entry in the table, that is said to be a data and that is a setup phase. Okay, that is a connection establishment. Here the 2 steps are required. One is the setup request, other one is the acknowledge. The source need to create a virtual circuit to be. Okay, a virtual circuit means you will be having a dedicated path as like in your circuit switching. So here you can see a circuit switching path available between the source node and the destination node. As you know that the packet switching approach does not have any fixed path. It may take any path that is available on the demand. At the time of data transfer, what is the path available, it will take. But in the case of virtual circuit, you need to establish a path. That's why you are establishing a path between these 1, 2, and 3 switches. As I told, you have in the setup phase, you have the two procedures that has to be followed or steps. One is the setup request, other one is the acknowledgement. So we'll be discussing here. The setup request frame is sent from the source to destination. Once the setup request is, it is like RTS CTS. Okay, so it is like RTS CTS in that is Mac media access control schemes you have available. So in that RTS CTS, then you will go for the data transfer, then you will go for the acknowledgement. Okay, so in order to avoid collision over there, you will be using that one. So here you can see the port between, that is you have the source node, that is A, and you have the destination node, you have B. So between these two, you are going to establish a connection, so that you will be having a setup request and you will be having the acknowledgement. So before data transfer, this will be initiated. Once it is over, then only you will go for a data transfer. So A you will be having, then it will forward to B, then it has to forward to C, then it will forward to D. So this is how here they are given the names. Okay, A, B, C, D, like that. As I given as 1, 2, 3, here they are given. So you can see 1, 14, 3 is the output. So here you don't find a that is the data transfer. What is the data will be won't available. So these are control packets. Okay. So once the control packet is that is finalized, that is fixed with the acknowledgement to the sender to the source, then only you go for the data along with the VCI. Okay, so you can see here as usual 1 associated with the 14, then 3 it has to be associated with the corresponding 66, then again it has to be associated with the 22. So like this it will be keep on moving. So once it reaches this destination, that is you will be having 77. Again from the destination, the acknowledgement has to send back via same path to the source. So the 77 will be acknowledged back to the switch 3, switch 2, then switch 1. Again it will be 22, the same 22 will be acknowledged back, then 66 will be acknowledged back, then the 14 will be acknowledged back. Now the connection setup is over. That means you are requested for the path to destination. Once the acknowledgement reaches the sender, it is assuming that you are finalized your path. Then you will go for the data transfer. This is how normally takes place in a virtual circuit approach. Then when it comes about the efficiency, so here also you will be having, so this is the setup phase. Okay, this much amount of time. Just now we have discussed about the setup phase. So in that you have a request, setup request and the acknowledgement. So this is how it takes this much amount of time it will take. Okay, this is the time where you start and this is the time where you receive the acknowledgement. Okay, then each time you will be having some processing with the switches available. Okay, so that is what I established here. Once the data transfer is over, we will go for the teardown. So once the teardown is initiated, your resources will be left free. Okay, so the resource reservation in a virtual circuit can be made during the setup on the on-demand data transfer. So this on-demand is associated with the packet switching, and this virtual circuit will be associated with a dedicated path of circuit switching. So delay for each packet is the same. So each packet or the frame that you are transmitting will encounter the same amount of delay. Each packet may encounter a different delay. Okay, so delay for each packet is same, but there are some different, that is when you say for processing, the processing delay will be same, but the queuing delay will be different. So that is what meaning here. So advantage here in a virtual circuit is the resource allocation is on demand. Okay, so only the path will be established only when you go with the data transfer, you will have the allocation of resources. That's why you have two phases available. in that connection setup request and the acknowledgement. So there is one time delay for setup and one time delay for tear down. So this is what associated here. This is, you will be having one time delay here, and for the tear down phase you have one more time delay. If the resources are allocated during the setup phase, there is no wait time for a individual packet. So during the setup time, if it is allocated, then there is no wait time. So you have total delay is the 3 transmission time, then plus 3 tau plus 3 setup time plus tau, that is a tear down delay. So this is normally associated with all the cases. So in virtual circuit approach, all the packets belonging to same source and destination travel same path. So when you say a virtual circuit approach, you have a dedicated path, that is you have a fixed path. So in that path only you will, the packets will be transmitted. Even though you have a on-demand resource allocation, the path remains fixed. So that is why it is said to be a cross. Okay. So it combines the features of both circuit switching and packet switching. The packet switching concept of allocating the resources on demand, and the concept of virtual circuiting with associated with the fixed path. Okay. So that is what about the efficiency and delay. Then we have the activity for this circuit and the packet switching. A local telephone network is an example of dash network. Students, you can answer. A local telephone network is an example of a dash network. I told already. Students, kindly answer. Is it visible? Is the question visible, Pa?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Local telephone network is an example of dash network, packet switch, circuit switch, bit switched or line switched.
Circuit switched, sir.
Exactly, circuit switched. Okay. The second one, the most packet switches uses this principle. I have told this principle: stop and wait, store and forward, store and wait, stop and forward. So, which is the correct one? Most packet switches uses the principle of which one? Madhumita? You can answer. Most packet switches uses the principle of stop and wait, store and forward, store and wait, stop and forward. Which
Store
is the
and forward, sir.
yes, first let the packets, that's why you have queuing delay. You have store and forward. As the resources are reserved between two communicating end system in circuit switching, dash is achieved. So they are asking in circuit switching, reserving the resources between two end system. So what they are going to achieve? Authentication, guaranteed constant rate, reliability, store and forward. Which will you achieve? Authentication, guaranteed constant rate, reliability, then store and forward. Which one will achieve? Students answer. Nirmal?
Sir, authentication.
Yes, pa. Little bit louder, pa.
Sir, authentication.
No. So we haven't discussed anything about authentication. So when you are dealing with the reservation, resource reservation, so which is more reliable here? Authentication is nothing but it is a security. We didn't specify any security mechanism so far. The three things that we are dealing, definitely the store and forward won't come here. So there are two cases. One is the reliability, other one is the constant, that is guaranteed constant rate. So among these two, which one will be a more apt one? So when you have resource or when you have resources, you can able to have a among which one is a better one? Guaranteed constant rate or reliability? When you have resource, what will happen? When you have resource with you, whether you have a guaranteed constant rate or you have reliability. So guaranteed constant rate. So we have resource reserved. If I want to transmit the data at 10 Mbps, so 10 Mbps is the constant data rate. Okay, so if I am reserving 10 Mbps for my connection alone, I will be guaranteed that I will be able to get the data with the available resources. That is said to be a guaranteed constant rate. The next one, in DAS system, the resources are allocated on demand. Packet switching, circuit switching, line switching, and frequency switching. Which one?
Packets.
Yes, exactly. Packet switching only will be having a on demand. The next one, in which of the following is not an application layer service? Which of the following is not a application layer service? Network, virtual terminal, file transfer and access management, mail service, and error control. So by default, you can able to identify which is not a application layer service. We discussed most things in application layer except one. Which is the correct answer? They're asking which is not an application layer service. Which is the correct one? Any answers? You have 4 answers.
Mail service.
Mail service is an SMTP. By using SMTP is application layer protocol. You can go with the mail service. File transfer also, file transfer access management, all things comes under application. Which is the right one? The only thing which is odd out. By looking out, we can see only one is the odd thing out. Which is the correct answer? Error control. Yes, Darun Pandyan, you are right. Error control is the correct answer. Okay, so error control and flow control mechanisms available only in a transport layer and in a data link layer. So data link layer and a transport layer has the facilities of error control and flow control mechanisms. Okay, the next one, the final one, the packet switching networks can also be divided into 2 subcategories: virtual circuit and datagrams. I have told the answer, it seems. Okay, so the packet switching and datagram are the 2 subcategories. Okay, so 2 is the answers which I have told. So this is the activity associated with it. We have a lot of questions, a number of questions available. So we need to pick only 5 to 6 questions for the activity. Okay. So that's all with respect to circuit switching and the packet switching concept. We will move on to the next one. So this is what we have discussed so far about the switching. What is the circuit switching and the packet switching? So now we will discuss about the link layer. So far we discussed about the physical layer. Now we'll move on to the actually the unit 2 deals with the physical layer and the link layer. Now we comes to the second part, that is the link layer. So in that we will be discussing about nodes. Okay. We will be discussing about the nodes, links, and the services. Here we will be discussing an overview of the services. Okay. So later we will be discussing about the bit stuffing and the byte stuffing. So this is that concept is very important as far as the data link layer is concerned. Byte stuffing and stuffing is nothing but adding something to the existing one. Okay. So normally we will go with the byte stuffing and bit stuffing under framing. Okay. So framing is one type of services. So under the services, we will be discussing about the stuffing and that is a bit and a byte stuffing. And those things will be discussed later on. Then we will be discussing about the addressing and its spaces. Okay, so unicast, multicast, broadcast. So how it looks like. Okay, normally we will say what is the unicast address, 1-to-1, then 1-to-many, and 1-to-all. So that's why we normally say. So if an address is given, okay, normally we will go with the IP address. Okay. So in that case, how will you identify whether with the address it is a unicast, multicast, or a broadcast? So those things we'll be discussing in this addressing phase. So now we'll discuss about the nodes and the links under the data link layer. So as you know that hop is nothing but the distance between the 2 nodes. Okay, that is normally called as a link. Okay. So you know the nodes are nothing but your end devices or your entities are said to be your nodes. It may be a end nodes or it may be a intermediate nodes or it may be. So those things you are very familiar. The nodes and links are very familiar to you. So normally you will be using the connecting devices or the connecting devices in the form of switches or the routers as the intermediate devices for your communication to be established between the two end devices. So end devices may be your laptops, palm tops, PDAs, or your PCs. Okay, whatever it may be. Okay, so a combination of network glued together connecting devices. So when you have these connecting devices together and you establish some connectivity for sharing resources globally, we'll call it as a internet. Okay, if a packet is to travel from a host to another host, it needs to pass through these networks. Okay, it may be as you know that you have a local network, several local networks are clubbed together through a WAN, it forms a total internet. Okay, so the communication, how it takes place in data link layer, it is between node to node. So as you know that each and every cases, when you go further from a lower to the higher level, starting from physical layer to the application layer, you will be having a different versions of your data, starting from stream of bits, then you have the frame, then you have the packets, then you have the data. Okay, so segments, then you have the data. So this is how the hierarchy follows in the data format. So when you go with it data link layer, all your communication take place between node to node. So when you say a node, so this is your node. Okay, or this may be intermediate node, or you can say it intermediate devices. Okay, so between these two, how it takes place. So when you go with this communication between these two, it is represented by use of a point-to-point network. We already discussed about the point-to-point. You can see here. Here we have the physical representation of the terminals or the nodes in the form of a routers, switches, or the laptops. But here, when you look down, all these things will be represented as a point of single contact. Okay, so this is the logical connect. This is the logical connectivity, or you can say it is a node and a link. Node and a link. So this is how you are establishing a communication in the data link here. So it normally passes through many networks. So when you say many networks, you can see it is a LAN, it is a LAN, it is a LAN. So you will have the combination of several LANs together. So that is why you are saying that it is a many networks. Normally LANs and WANs are connected by the routers. You have the router here. These LANs, when it is communicated with a more number of LANs, you will be calling as a LAN. That is WAN. Okay. So this is already we are discussing unit 1. Then when you discuss about the services, so what kind of services this data link layer can provide. So that is what I discussed here. So it is, as you know, it is located between the network layer and the physical layer. It provides services to the upper layer and the lower layer. When you say upper layer, it is a network layer. When you say lower layer, it is nothing but your physical layer. So the scope of the data link layer is only between the node to node. Even you provide the services to the upper layer or lower layer, the scope of the data link layer is only between the nodes. Okay, between two nodes, you can able to establish the communication. When a packet is traveling in the internet, the data link layer of a node is responsible for delivering of datagram to the next node in the path. Okay, if some information or the data is moving from one node to other node, it only because of the data link layer. So the packet that is associated, the packet is normally associated with the network layer. The packet in data link layer is normally called a frame. When you say the information or the data that is available in layer 2, that is the data link layer, it is called frame. So when you say the services, the first one is called a framing. So whatever the data that you are getting from your upper layer, that is the transport layer, you have to divide into number of frames. Okay, so that will be taken care by. So the providing a frames is one type of services. Okay, so each node needs to be encapsulate the datagram. So datagram is the type of the information that is available. So So initially, in the transport layer, you will be having the segments, then you have the packets, then you have the frames. So these are called datagrams. So you need to encapsulate the datagrams. So uh, when you coming from the application layer, you have the generally called the data. The data will be encapsulated in the segment layer. You will be divided into segments. Normally you will be having the header, then you will be having the data. Again, it will be encapsulated into another packet which is associated with another header, and this will be called as a packet. Again, this will be encapsulated into another packet, and it will be associated with another header. Okay, so this is called a frame. So likewise, it will be go in one direction and will be it will be divided into one direction. It will be added in another direction. Okay, so that is grouping in one packet into another packet. That is called a encapsulated. So each node needs to encapsulate. So initially, when you wrap the inside packet, that is the dead end packet, so it has only the segments. Okay, and it has to be transfer the data to the higher end. Similarly, when you take that top layer, it will be having a stream of bits, okay, which will be encapsulated layer by layer. So the node also needs to decapsulate it. So as I told, so the data or the information will be transmitted in a two direction in each layer. So when it has to take from the upper layer, that is from the application layer down to the physical layer, in other direction from the physical layer to the application layer. Okay, so both a top-down approach other and a bottom-up approach. So the nodes need to decapsulate and encapsulate from the frame received on the logical channel. So different data link layers have different formats of the framing. So you have a different formats of the framing. Okay, so that is why I told that when you discuss about the framing, you have the two type of framing. As I told, one is the stuffing. So one is the byte oriented, that is called 8 bits, that is called character oriented stuffing, and a bit oriented stuffing, individual bit. Okay, so that is called. So those things are interesting concept, bit stuffing. So those things will be discussed later. So these things you have to remember because they will be asking in 2 more questions. So what is a bit stuffing and a byte stuffing, or compare bit stuffing and a byte stuffing. So it is one of the services of the DLL. We are discussing the services of a DLL. We made an entry into the data link layer. You know, data link layer is the layer 2 which is responsible for framing, and you will have the error control and the flow control mechanisms also available with this one. Then it provides the services to the upper layer and the lower layers. Okay. So here, as I told, you have the flow control mechanisms. As you know, control is nothing but you need to make the things right. If something is beyond your limit or beyond the imagination, or you can say beyond the availability. Okay, so availability means the capacity. So when something is going beyond the capacity, you need to control that one. So here will be having the flow control mechanism. So they are given a scenario with relevant to the producer and a consumer. Someone will be keep on producing and someone will be consuming. Producer will be producing and consumer. Who is consumer and who is producer? Can anyone tell me? Who is producer and who is consumer? Students, any answers? Sir, it's better you ask question and you answer yourself. Am I right? Ahino? Ahino? Are you there? Astika?
Yes, sir.
Ahino, am I right? Ahino? You ask the
No,
question, sir. Better you answer, sir. So that we will listen to a lecture. Am I right?
No, sir. Appala illa,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. And you just tell me who is the producer and who is the consumer? This is the general question. Who is the
Sir,
producer?
sir, manufacture பண்றவங்க எல்லாம் producers, sir. அத வாங்குறவங்க consumers.
Oh, in that case, what about we? Whether we are producer or consumer?
Consumers, sir.
Okay, so we are consumers. Okay, so normally when the flow control comes into picture, this is a general thing. We relate the general thing with this concept here. So when will you have the control mechanism? So you take the COVID situation. So during that COVID situation, there is a demand for a particular thing. Do you know?
Yes, sir. Vaccine, sir.
Pardon?
Vaccine, oxygen.
Okay, so those things happens in the recent past. I am asking about the COVID-19, which actually happens in during that 19 December and 20. So during that time, you have a huge demand for a particular thing. Do you know?
Food resources, sir.
Pardon?
Food resources.
No, it is a sanitizer. Okay, do you know the sanitizers under that hand washes? Okay,
Yes,
hand
sir.
wash liquids. During that time, it was available. That is a demand available. So the producer could not able to produce. Normally, before COVID, we are very rare to use the sanitizer. Okay, so during that pandemic time only, we started using the sanitizer because it contains alcohol, which is has the capability of killing that COVID virus. Okay, so that's why we started using that sanitizer. So most of the industries, which initially before the COVID, we have only limited industries. They started manufacturing the sanitizer. So during that time, every industries they started manufacturing that. Because why they started manufacturing, because there is a huge demand available, you cannot able to supply. So because of the huge demand, one thing automatically shoots up. What is that? The price. Okay, so whenever you have a huge demand, automatically when the producer is not producing that sufficient quantity, automatically the cost will also rises more. Okay, so those scenario is taken for here for the flow control. So it is said to be a closed loop. So whenever you have a demand in the market, you insist the producer. So how it will be when I am saying it is a closed loop, it's look like a chain. Okay, so you will be having a producer here, you will be having a consumer. So when the consumer consumes more, you will be having a minimum quantity, or it means zero. So the consumer has to inform the producer so that the producer will start manufacturing more. Okay, so yeah, it has to be a closed loop such that whenever you have a flow, it may be a flow, maybe on either side. It may have a huge impact or it may have less impact. So less impact means it doesn't have a huge demand. When you have a huge demand, it is having a high impact. So during that time, you need to inform the producer to produce more amount of the sanitizers. Okay. So as a result, you can able to reduce the demand so that it will have a constant gradual flow. Okay. So that is the best example that you can give. So you can give your own example, which is more relevant for the case of the flow control. Okay. So with a producer and a customer, they are given the flow control mechanism. If the flow control produces an item that cannot be consumed, then accumulation of items normally occurs. Okay, so during that pandemic time, normally when you go for any bakery, they keep on accumulating the bread slices. Okay, during that time, pandemic time, you cannot able to accumulate. Okay, because the shops were closed. You can even though we can able to produce, you cannot able to accumulate. So based upon the demand that is available in the market, you need to reduce the production. Okay, so that is the case here. The producer at one end producing the frames. Now you can relate with the frames. So the producer is producing the frame, the consumer is receiving the frame at the other ends. So consumers normally consumes all the frames. If the frame rate of production, if the produced rate of the frame is greater than the consumed rate, it means that I am consuming less, you are producing more. So production is more than the consumption. The frames at the receiving end need to be buffered. So in that case, what will happen? You need to store those frames. Whatever I produce, I will just pass it on. So if I pass it on more number of frames, if I am not able to consume more, what will happen? You will be put into queue by the intermediate devices. Okay. So that's why you have a delay in the network. So it is not possible to have an unlimited buffer size. Normally you can have a buffer, but there is a limit, or you can say a threshold for the buffer. When you are crossing the threshold, whatever you put into that media, it will normally it will be neglected, it will be dropped down. Okay, so that is the case available. So there are two choices available in order to consider this case. You can take any real-time example for production and the consumption. Okay, so when you here we have given that the first threshold, or you can say the scenario is the production is more when compared to the consumption. Okay, the producer is producing more, so that you need to buffer lot of things. If you want to not drop anything, you need to buffer, but beyond the buffer limit you cannot store in the buffer. So that is the case that you may able to drop. So how can you control this one? So there are two cases available here. The first choice will be let the receiving data link layer drop the frames if the buffer is full. That's the first case. So you keep on producing, I'll consume to my limit. So what I can consume, I can able to consume. The rest of the things I'll be storing in the buffer. Okay, if the buffer is consuming only a minimum amount, then the rest of things has to be discarded. Okay, that is the case one. The second choice, let the receiving data link layer send a feedback to the sending data link layer to ask it to stop down or slow down. Okay, so I need to slow down so that I can able to consume the packet that I can and the buffer can. So the producer will stop producing at its maximum. So they can able to produce at a minimum amount. Okay, so I can say the minimum that is the minimum capacity they can able to produce. So different data link protocol uses a different strategy for the flow control mechanism. So we have a different flow control mechanisms available for the different data link layers. So the flow control also occurs at the transport layer. As I told that you have the error control mechanism and the flow control mechanism that is happens at the two layers. One is the layer 2, other one is the layer 4. In the error control, so at the sending node, a frame in a data link layer needs to be changed into bits. Okay, so you have to convert the next layer is the physical layer. You need to convert all your data into a that is a frame into a stream of bits. Okay, so the transform bits to the electromagnetic signal, then transmitted through the transmission media again. Again, the bits has to be converted back into the frame. So this is normally happens at the, as I told, each layer has to perform two functions. One is the conversion, other one is the reverse conversion. So at the receiving end, the electromagnetic signals are received and transformed into bits and put together to create a frame. So that is from one is from bottom up approach, other one is the top down approach. So the electromagnetic signals are susceptible to a error. As you know, when you are transmitting in an open air or through cables, there is a possibility that you may have some errors. Okay, so the errors need to be detected first, then you have to correct the errors. So there are two cases available, detection and the correction. So it is a lengthy process. So after detection, it needs to be corrected after the node or it has to be discarded. So once there are two cases, once you have to correct or you have to discard the corrected error. Then you go for the retransmission. If it is corrected, you go for retransmission. Your detection and correction is an issue in every layer. So whenever you are receiving any data, you need to check whether it is corrected or corrupted. So if it is corrected, you accept that one. If it is corrected, you go for retransmission. Then the congestion control. So it is also plays a vital parameter. As I told, when your capacity is more, normally you will be having the congestion. Okay. So the input is more than the capacity, you will be having the congestion. So the link may be congested with frames, it results in a loss. So the frames gets lost. So most DLL protocol do not directly use the congestion control to alleviate. You have some protocols available. So congestion control protocols will take care of this one. So congestion control is considered as an issue in network layer or the transport layer because of its end-to-end nature. Then as I know that there are two categories of link available. One is the point-to-point, other one is the broadcast link. So you know point-to-point is to one-to-one, that is unicast. Broadcast means to all. Okay, so whatever you transmit, who are all the neighbors, they will be receiving your data. So that is said to be your broadcast link. Okay, So you can able to transmit either through cable or air. So it controls the media. So the whole capacity of the media will be using. So the link sometimes based upon that type of switch, you will be having a shared or you will be having a dedicated path. Normally broadcast will have a shared media, and the point to point will have a dedicated path. Here we are discussing about the data link, you can say data link layer. So there are two sub-layer associated with the data link layer. One is the DLC, that is called a data link control. So normally D stands for the data link layer. Normally we will be represented with the LC. Okay. So link control. So how we are going to link the layers and we are going to control. That is why it is called link control. The second one is called media access. There are two sub-layer. The linking control will be taken care by this sub-layer. This is the upper sub-layer among the two sub-layer. You can see the data link layer will be available. So this will be divided into two sub-layer. One is the logic link control. Other one is the MAC. Okay, so the LAC will be the upper sub-layer and the MAC will be the lower sub-layer. So this is the media access control. So you have the data link layer, that is the upper layer, another one is the lower sub-layer. So these two are said to be a data link layer. Just a minute. So one will be used for the broadcast, other one will have the point to point. So point to point, you will be having this one, that is the data link control layer. For broadcast, you will be having both sub-layer, data link and the MAC. So we'll be discussing about the link layer addressing. So that is the next topic. Okay, you just know what are the two sub-layers associated with the data link layer. One is the logic link. Okay, the other one is the MAC, that is a media access control. Logic link control and media access, that is LLC and MAC. Logic link control and media access control. Okay, so the next topic is the link layer addressing. So we'll be discussing about the link layer. That too, we'll be discussing about the addressing. You know addressing. So only with the help of the addressing only you can able to point out the nodes. It may be intermediate nodes or it may be end nodes. Okay. Only with the help of the addressing you will be identifying the individuals in the network. So this logic link, as you know, whenever you are dealing with a layer 2, when you deal with the addressing, it is nothing but MAC. It is a physical address. Layer 2 always deal with a physical address. So that when you say about the layer 3, that is a network layer normally deals with the IP addressing. So you need to convert IP addressing into the MAC addressing, or you need to map the IP addressing with the corresponding map. So in order to do that mapping, you need a protocol. So one such a protocol that does the mapping of IP and that is a MAC, conversion of IP to map, or you need to find the IP. You have an IP address with you, you need to find the map. You have a protocol that is called ARP, that is said to be address resolution protocol. Again, now if you have MAC, one is with the top-down approach, other one is with the bottom-up approach. Now we have the MAC address with you. You need to identify the IP address associated with the MAC. So there we go with the reverse ARP. So ARP is a protocol that is used to map the physical address and the logical address. Okay. So when you say about the layer 2 addressing, it deals with the MAC addressing. So LLA defines the IP address as the identifies at the network layer. So as it is a top layer in the logic link control, it is more associated with the IP, which is available with the network layer. So in network, or you can say internet, the datagram does not reach destination only with the IP address. As you know that only with the IP address, locally you can able to transfer, but when you are going beyond with one LAN connected with another LAN through a WAN or with the help of the router, so in that case IP address alone is not sufficient. You need to have the MAC address. Only with the MAC address it is possible to reach the destination which is far beyond. Okay, the source and destination IP address defines the two ends. Okay, you have the IP address which is associated with the source and destination, but it cannot define the link, the packet that it passed through. So through which link? If you want to have the link process, it has to be done with only MAC. As I told, the MAC is used to only with the help of the MAC and the logic link control, you can able to link the two nodes. Okay. So you need to remember the IP address in the datagram should not be changed. Okay. So the one thing you need to remember, the IP address in the datagram, that a packet. So normally you will be encapsulate one packet into another packet. In that you will be having IP address that should not change. Okay. So if the destination IP in the datagram changes, the packet never reaches the destination. Okay, so the inside the packet, when you put more gifts into a single wrapper, one gift into another wrapper, another gift into another wrapper, like that will be keep on going. That's said to be encapsulation. That is said to be a encapsulation. Okay, so in that case, the first thing that you have taken as an IP address, it has to be remain same. It has to be move one by one. Okay, so the initial thing, the IP address should not change. If we change the IP address, you cannot able to see your destination reaching the packet reaching the destination. So that's why you make a note that your IP address does not change when it is being encapsulated. The source IP address, if the source IP address in a datagram changes, what will happen if changes? The destination host or router can never communicate with the source. Okay, the packet will be keep on moving further and further. Okay, you can't able to trace your destination. That's why you should not change your IP address. Your IP address remains fixed, but you will be having a change in the link address. The link will be keep on changing. That is a MAC address with the gateway in which you are moving. I hope it's time. We'll stop here. I hope it's time. Am I right, students? Ahino?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll stop with this link layer addressing. So in the third hour, we'll continue with the link layer addressing with the further diagrams. Okay, so this diagram will give a clear explanation how the packets are transferred with the link layer addressing. Okay, so we'll stop here. So last week we planned for that lab classes. Unfortunately, it's not happened because of your training class. So let's hope for the best for the tomorrow session. So based on that only we can able to complete our assignment. So before that you make it ready your PC with your packet tracer simulation tool so that it will be easy for you to work it on. Okay, so don't forget to install the packet tracer tool with your PC and make it ready with you tomorrow afternoon. Okay, so that when I work parallelly you can also work together. Okay, so that you may have several doubts, you may ask those things on the class itself. Okay. Okay, I hope everything is clear, whatever we discussed so far. If you have any doubts, you can ask now. Students, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. If you don't have any doubt, we'll wind up. I hope the concepts are very clear. So do attend the session at the third hour. It will be very interesting and you will be know exactly how the packets are transferred or the frames are transferred with the addressing. Okay, you will be having the IP address and the link address. It will be very useful for you. Okay, so that's all for the session. So I hope two Dinesh Kumars are present today. Dinesh Kumar M 20 is present. What about 19? Both 19 Dinesh Kumar, are you there? You just unmute and answer. 19 Dinesh Kumar. 19 Dinesh Kumar, are you there? If you're not answering, I will mark it as an absent for you because only 20 responded. Okay, thank you, students.